thing I'm going to be using is some floral wire, and this is what we're going to use to make the shape of the crown, and this is what everything else is going to be built on. So you're going to start off in the middle of one of the wires and then just bend it out with your fingers. Then after that you want to take some jewellery wire, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a series of loops along this. So you're going to try and have them space out between 2 to 3 centimetres apart. And you're going to do this all the way along the wire. This won't take too long, but then once you get to the end, leave a little bit of space, because this is where we're going to be creating the edge of the crown, and this is where everything else is going to tie into. So you don't want it to be too short. Now I'm going to take the end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start curving that out and creating a little hoop around at the very end, and this is mainly decorative. So here I'm going to make a little curl, and it's going to turn in on itself. So you can see the pattern that I've done. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. And now what you're going to do is repeat the whole process, and we're going to be doing this 3 times. We're going to be creating a middle band and then a third band, which is going to be on the outside. So with the first band, what you want to do is you're going to slide the end through that little loop that you've created at the bottom of that little twirl. Once the end of the wire is through the loop, you're going to wrap it around the twirl, and then any pieces which are sticking out, just cut them off and try and cut them off as close to the wire as possible. If you don't want to do that, something else you can do is just wrap it around a little bit and then curl the end so that you have a double little twirl at the very end of the crown. So now moving on to the third one, we're going to be repeating exactly what we did with the other 2 wires. Now of course, one thing you could do is you could have multiple layers. You could have 6 different layers, 7 different layers, but today I'm just going to stick with 3. But if you wanted to make something much more elaborate, you could just keep going until you've got as many layers as you want. So again, I'm going to be tying it down on the edges of the crown and just wrapping it around, and so this is the shape that you should have by the time you've finished all these steps. Then I'm going to be moving on to an even thinner wire, and what we're going to be doing is using this wire and then some little crystal beads. So I'm just going to take the bead, cut a small piece of wire, slide the bead right down to the middle, fold that wire in half, and then you're going to twist it so that the bead's trapped there. Once you've twisted it quite a lot and there's a little bit of space in between the bead and then where we're eventually going to put the next bead, you're going to put another one, and then keep twisting that wire until there's a similar gap between the 2 beads. Then at the base, those little loops that we've created on the crown, this is where you're going to start tying that wire down. Once you've twisted the wire around the base and you're sure that it's in place, sometimes you'll find that it's still going to wiggle around a little bit. If that's what's happening, then what you need to do is either take pliers or your fingers and just twist the wire so that it tightens around that base wire, and then it shouldn't wiggle around so much. But if it still wiggles, that's fine, because what we're going to do is after we finish this, we're going to be making a much longer wire which is going to wrap around the base, and that should hold everything into place. But first what I need to do is just put down all those little gems which are going to be sticking out along the wire. And now we're going to be making the second piece, which is going to go around the base. So this is a much longer wire, and as you can see, I've put the little crystals. And what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to wrap that round. And then after that, it's pretty much the same process, just again and again. As you can see on the front part of the crown, what I've done is I only have 2 beads. But on the middle wire, I'm going to have 3 beads, and then at the wire at the very back of the crown, I'm going to have 4. The more gem antennas you have stuck down to the crown, the harder it's going to be to wrap these strands around it. But just take your time. I know sometimes you're probably going to want to chuck this thing out the window, but bear with it. Once you're finished, it's going to look really nice. So here we go. On the last one, I'm going to be doing 4 gems, tying them all down, and then wrapping one final strand of gems around the base. And that's it. That's how to make a Snow Queen crown.